I'm okay. Could be better.
Please explain.
Um, I think I'm like extremely overwhelmed with life right now. Career wise, friendship wise, family wise, just kind of scattered everywhere. Taking it one day at a time, but super overwhelmed. Well, career wise, I got here because I've been doing the same thing for a little over 12 years. And now I'm just kind of like over it. I've reached my peak. But then I'm also like, I've put so much time into it. I don't want to be a failure and like leave it and move on. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, what do I do next? With still being able to keep some of what I've been doing a part of my next move, but like something that I'm gonna be passionate about and happy and content. Family wise, I'm the only child. I am the oldest grandchild. I've kind of always been like the rock for everybody, so I don't really get to have emotions. I got to carry everyone's weight. Same with my friends. I'm always the strong friend. When someone has something going on, they're calling me. When someone needs advice, they're calling me. So I don't really get to have my own time to have my own problems. So that's how I got here. I lost somebody really close to me, and then my best friend lost her mom, and then my other best friend lost her grandparents. Then I lost my grandpa, and then I lost a cousin within a matter of like 6 months. So I think that was like the turning point for me where I was like, just every time somebody called, I was like, something bad's about to happen, or someone's getting ready to tell me something bad. So that was the first time that I like looked for a therapist. Like, who can I speak about these things to? Because who wants to ride around with anxiety all the time? But I wasn't successful. I spoke to one person and I was like, this is not for me. Like, you don't get it. This is a waste of time. So I kind of started rebottling all of those emotions. And then this year, I was working on a TV show, things that I've been doing for like the last 10 years. And I just felt like super unfulfilled. Every day was just like, I'm going to work. It wasn't like, oh, this is what I love to do. This is what I've been doing. This is exciting. It was just literally like draining. Like every day was depressive. And when the show wrapped, I was like, okay, this is not who I want to be. I don't want to be in a state of like, pretend like everything's okay. Like, no, talk to somebody, like finally let it go. So that's kind of the turning point of when I was like, yeah, I can still be Superwoman, but even Superwoman has to like take a break. So I actually read this thing like a few days ago on Instagram where it was like, we associate moving on with failure. And it spoke to me because it was like, if you have a business and it goes great for years and then out of nowhere it stops going good and you have to close it, it doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that that time has run its course. And that resonated with me because this whole time I'm like, I've dedicated so much time and hours and hard work interning, like going above and beyond. There's times where I should have ended at a 14-hour day, did 18. And the whole time I'm like, if I walk away, that's so much time and passion and energy I put into this one thing. Who wants to start over with something else? But that one little thing on Instagram kind of like really sat with me. And I was like, doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means it's ran its course. Like, it's cool to move on to something else. So I'm afraid because I don't want to fail, and I'm afraid because I don't want to give something else a lot of time and energy and then not like that either. But I guess I'm learning that it's okay to start over however many times you want to. Like, you make your own rules. We don't have to live by society being like, have this one career, be successful, do this, start a family. Like, I can have 20 careers if I want to. Who's to tell me that I can't? So my mom's a middle child. Growing up, my grandpa was an alcoholic. My grandma was just kind of like mean, and like my mom had to carry everyone's burdens. And then when she had me, I was the only child, single mom, really just like getting it out the mud, hustling by every means necessary to take care of me. My dad wasn't like in the picture. And even with all my mom was doing, she was always just like so gracious. Like, people would call her and be like, hey, I need to talk. Like, can I do this? Or if she had $10 and someone needed 9, she gave it to them. So that came from her. Just like, you can be spoiled, because I am spoiled. Like I said, I'm the only child. I'm the oldest grandchild. So like my mom's siblings didn't start having kids till I was 18. So super spoiled, but super humble. And I think I just always found like happiness in doing for others and just realizing that like the world doesn't revolve around me. Like, yeah, I can be spoiled and I can get these things, but when I give, that's more fulfilling than me getting. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a giver. It's a gift and a curse because sometimes I give too much and it's not appreciated. And then I'm kind of like stuck where I didn't poured so much into everybody else and I barely have anything left for myself. But I just feel like the most important thing is love. And that's what we were put on this earth to do. And everything else is just a bonus if you live your life right. You know, the little accomplishments you make, those are all just bonuses. But that's not our purpose. Our purpose is to love, to give love, to feel loved, to just do right by people. And that's how the world can like be better if you just aren't selfish and you're more concerned with like, okay, I'm feeling this way, but somebody else is feeling worse. So let me help them or let me do for them. Let me be there for them. And then it'll come back to me in a different way. So reading books is like super therapeutic for me. I'm like a nature girl. If I'm ever like really, really stressed out and I have the time to do it, I go to the beach and just walk on the sand and just talk to myself, just be super one with the universe. Also, burning sage, lighting candles, and journaling is new, but it's been very therapeutic. It's like taking the time every day in the morning and at night to just write something that I'm grateful for has been a big deal. I think that I've accomplished a lot of things and I'm kind of like hard on myself. I don't really ever sit back and like acknowledge like, whoa, be still for a second and just like look at what you've done and what you've like accomplished. So being able to write at the end of the night and the beginning of the day, I'm like, wait a minute, like you said you were gonna do this, you did it. Like that's good, you know, like you did something. I would say one of the main things that have like stuck with me, especially into my adulthood, is like my mom grew up in the ghetto, technically, quote unquote. And my dad was kind of like a stuck-up asshole, one of those people who were like, "Oh, your kid's gonna grow up in the ghetto. She's never gonna be anything. She's gonna be this. She's gonna be that." So I've kind of always been on a power trip of being like, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna be. Let me show you." So it's kind of a good and a bad thing, and that's why I'm pretty much kind of tough on myself because I'm like, I have to just prove you wrong 1,000 times. So that's one thing. Other things just being my mom taking care of everything. We've struggled. And then we had good times. Like I am very spoiled, but like just learning to like, you want something, you got to get it out the mud and like really go out there and get it. So all of those little struggles have played a big part in like my adulthood and just kind of how I handle things. So yeah. It's very rocky right now. I have siblings. One of my siblings, like, we're kind of in the same boat. I'm more from a healed perspective of like, life is short. Like, I'm still gonna talk to you. My youngest sibling doesn't talk to my dad at all. And he's kind of like shut out the whole family. And then the two younger ones are like very young. They're like 13 and 10. So I talk to my dad just because of them, but we don't like technically communicate. I've been asking him to go to therapy pretty much all my life. He's one of those men who are like, therapy, what do you need that for? Like, you're not screwed up. So for me, it's been a big thing of like, if you're not gonna do the self-work and the healing, yeah, you can be my dad. We can get along from afar, but like, I'm working on me. If you're not working on you, you don't deserve my space. I think so many people think that like, oh, this stranger is gonna judge me. And it's like, who cares? It's a stranger. And they have problems too. So whatever, it's an escape for them while they're listening to you. So just being able to like really experience it and live in it, I can give a real perspective. Before it was just like, I think therapy is great. You should try it. But until I did it myself, it's like, yeah, I think it's great, but I haven't experienced it. Now that I have, I'm like, honestly, like at this day and age, won't even date a guy if he's not open to going to therapy. Because I'm like ready to build a family. I want someone who's like doing the self-work, you know? Like I want to have kids and I don't want my kids to be like, oh, my dad said you can't have emotions. My dad said that like you just got to suck it up. That's wrong. Like you're entitled to feel, live in those moments, feel those things and deal with it. And the building was like vacant and abandoned for years before John and Vinny's came and brought it. And everyone was just like pissed, like, oh, they're putting a John and Vinny's here, everything's gonna go up. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but don't you want nice shit in the community? Like, don't you want more opportunities? Don't you want a job there now that it's on the corner compared to the vacant building just sitting there with the broken sign for years? So I have mixed feelings. Like, obviously, I don't want anyone to not be able to afford where they live anymore and be pushed out and pushed somewhere else. And like the home they've known all their lives is no longer able to be home because the prices have went up. But I also feel like it has its pluses. I want to live in a community with nice things. And if that means having a few other people come in and make it that way, then I'm here for it. As long as those people respect the culture that was there before them. We live in crazy times, and it's only going to get crazier. And you're either going to be aware, no matter what side you're on, or you're just going to just be sitting there like, what's going on? How do we get here? What do we do next? And it's like, the more aware you are, the more involved you are, the more of a difference you can make. You can't just be on the sidelines like, oh, this is horrible and we need this and that, and like not even know really what's going on, but have an opinion about something, or like not even physically involved, but like you're angry that this didn't go a certain way. So yeah, I don't believe that every side is like perfect, but pick the side that fits you and stick to it and get involved with it and learn about it and really be about the action and not just like, everybody can talk, it sounds great, but what are you doing to contribute to the actual movement and the conversation? I would consider myself Bougetto. Like I said, I'm from the hood, so I'm gonna always support like my local things, my mom and pop things, the small businesses, the people I've seen like really hustle and struggle to stay afloat, and make their dreams come true. But I also like to dibble and dabble in the nicer things as well. But I think that I will always like support the mom and pop stuff overall. That's just like true to my heart. And then I know so many people who have family businesses or like own their little ice cream shop on the corner. And it's important to me to see like generational, wealth, to keep that in the family, to like, if I go buy ice cream from them today and I encourage other people, that place can still be here when my kids are here, to be like, yo, when I was a child, this is where I went and got ice cream from. Like, I think that's important. Everything's not going to be perfect all the time, but I feel like if everyone's kind of like in a state of feeling their emotions and living in it, like we can just coexist better. So I think that like even with my friendships and my relationships, like that's what's heavy on my heart right now, because I'm doing the self-work, and like I said, journaling and all of those things are new to me. And just having like daily conversations with my friends, and we get so caught up in like little stuff that doesn't even matter. And then I think that like lately I've really been pushing the like, hey, let's change the energy here. Like let's manifest, let's put positivity into the universe. So that's what has been on my mind lately. Just like trying to push the positive wave and stay in it so that I can make it a habit and it can be a lifestyle. And having people around me that like move the same way.